Shalom. I'm going to start by giving all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Kokodash. Yahweh is the true name of the Heavenly Father, the nation Hebrew. Yahweh Shai is the true name of His only God and Son. Double honors to the elders and apostles, great millstone of well, and peace and salutations to the elect of the nation of Israel. The true Hebrew Israelites of the Bible are the so-called Negroes, so-called Hispanics, and so-called Native Americans, as well as your Israelite foreigners that may look like the other nations, but believe this truth. This brother Shakol, here with a video lesson. As you see, based on his title, U.S., which is America, Babylon the Great in the Bible, could default on debt as soon as the lie analysis. And we know that the U.S. is many trillions of dollars in debt, and not billions, trillions of dollars in debt. And so said the U.S. could default on debt as soon as the lie analysis. So economic turmoil is coming to Babylon Great in the globe, and it's going to affect the citizens of America, Babylon the Great, and means of the collapse of society, famines, violent times, all hell breaking loose. And so it said that as soon as July, this could happen in July, and I personally believe that this is their agenda, so that they can crash their system, bring forth the MOTB, the RFID microchip, Revelation 13:16 implant, connected to a universal basic income. Because the whole world needs to get microchip pursuant to Revelation 13:16, Revelation 3 and 10 as well. The hour of temptation, which shall come upon the whole world when the MOTB is on the scene, the microchip implant, and the elect won't take that. But the masses will. So this debt default gonna lead to all could lead to all hell breaking loose, or will lead to all hell breaking loose. And we'll read exactly what the scriptures say concerning all the hell that will happen. Now who knows, this is gonna be the way that it happens, but we know that it's highly likely. But we know what the scripture do say, and that it's gonna come to pass soon, so we're watching. So what would it look like? What would a debt default look like? Economists say consequences of a default on the national debt could include higher interest rates, a stock market crash, a recession, and massive job losses. So you imagine what that's going to look like, leading to the times of Jacob's trouble, the MOTB, and all hell breaking loose. People are already struggling as it is to make ends meet, not being able to make ends meet, a homeless epidemic, drug epidemic, all these stores are already closing down. So the debt defaults, U.S. debt defaults, you can imagine how much of a blow it would be. Be like a liver shot to this place. Like in boxing. In the stock market crash would also, in a stock market failure what is what the scriptures say is gonna happen. Wall Street falls. And let's forget that and that would also cause a major devastation and turmoil. So look on the stock market. It said a stock market default, meaning the U.S. government fails to repay its debts, would cause a dramatic stock market crash, potentially wiping out trillions in household wealth and triggering a global economic crisis with lasting consequences. So Kolo Yal Bashman Shai, Bashman Kokodash. Lord, to this happen soon. So this is what we're looking forward to. Here's a more detailed breakdown of the potential consequences. Market collapse. A default would likely trigger a massive sell-off in stock and bond markets, potentially leading to a significant drop in stock prices and a reduction in the value of retirement accounts and other investments, economic recession and job losses. The stock market crash would likely lead to a recession with the businesses struggling to survive. So businesses struggling to survive, leading to job losses and a sharp rise in unemployment, so nobody can get jobs. They can bring that MOTB in the microchip implant with the universal basic income. If you take it, and also all people are gonna be it's gonna be violent times. People are gonna be taking any means necessary to because they don't have nothing. They're gonna be committing violent acts. And all hell's gonna break loose on these streets because people can't fend for themselves, or people need to fend for themselves, and they don't have it because this government system is collapsing. It's good to say woe unto those that go to Egypt, which is America, for help. This place is going down. So Isaiah 31, but this is reduced consumer confidence. A default would erode consumer confidence, leading to a decline in spending and further exacerbating the economic downturn. Damage to U.S. financial standing. A default would severely damage the U.S.'s reputation as a reliable borrower and weaken the dollar's role as the world's reserve currency. Global economic impact. The U.S. is a major economic power, and a default would have a far-reaching consequences for the global economy, potentially triggering a global recession. So it's not just America, it's global as well. We're going to see all hell break loose in the MOTB implant. So the elites could be planning this to bring forth that hour of temptation, that MOTB, which the Lord Yahweh Shah will be controlling them to do that, to fulfill prophecy. So that's very possible. Increased interest rates. A default would likely lead to higher interest rates, making it more expensive for businesses and consumers to borrow money. A default could lead to disruptions in payments to Social Security beneficiaries, federal employees, and programs like Medicare and Medicaid. And so, all that stuff is gonna go out the window. All that trust in this in the ESOL system, all these government help programs, you already see it. Trump and Elon Musk don't care about that stuff. So, especially Jake, it's all gonna go out the window. Credit ratings downgrades. Credit rating agencies would likely downgrade the U.S.'s credit rating, making it more difficult and expensive for the government to borrow money in the future. Potential for bankruptcies. Companies with high debt burdens could face bankruptcy, further exasperating the economic downturn. So this is what we're looking for, the time of Jacob's trouble. All hell's gonna break loose soon. And let's get a few scriptures. Actually, first I have to show you what is the debt clock say right now. What is it at? This is crazy. The U.S. national debt is in the trillions. This is hundreds. This is thousands. This is millions. This is billions. And that's trillions. So 36 trillion, 640 billion. Wow. 682 million, 500 something, 600 something thousand, 700 something thousand, 800 something thousand, and it's going up 900 something thousand. Now it's 683 million something hundred. And so 36 trillion, 37 trillion dollars roughly in U.S. national debt, and it said they could default on their debt as soon as July, causing the recession, stock market crash, stock market failure, higher rates, massive job losses, all hell breaking loose, and we read all the effects from that. The collapse of the society, all these programs, global effects, this whole economic downturn, if that's the right word. I want to get this. This is Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 6. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. And that word for the clay is Ibatya in the Hebrew, which goes into heavy debts. And America is filled with debt. It said, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And it said, and to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. And so America's got this clay. It said, laden himself with thick clay. That's America. That's Esau. Let's show you that word. And it looks like they could default under debt as soon as July. So the word for thick clay, Strong's H5671. Ibatyat in the Hebrew, Ibatyat. That's the true Hebrew pronunciation. We got the true Hebrew, Zephaniah 3 and 9. What does it mean? Heavy debts. You see here on the right. So woe unto him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. So America's got heavy debts. Esau has heavy debts. And it looks like that's going to cause all hell to break loose. The whole economic devastation. Mainly in America, but also globally. And then also wanted to go here. To Zephaniah, the first chapter. This is Zephaniah chapter 1 and verse 11. How ye inhabitants of Maktesh, for all the merchant people are cut down, all they that bear silver are cut off. And so Maktesh is in the old times a merchant city in Israel. But in prophecy today, it represents Wall Street. And so Wall Street's going to collapse, it's going to fall, which deals with the stock market and economics, money. And so we'll read it again, understanding that it's prophetically speaking of the stock market, Wall Street. So we'll read this again, Zephaniah chapter 1, verse 11. How will ye inhabitants of Maktesh, for all the merchant people are cut down, all they that bear silver are cut off. And so Wall Street falls is going to cause an economic collapse to America and over the globe, and that's going to further all hell breaking loose. That what could trigger this is that heavy debts, that thick clay. And Zephaniah 1 goes into the day of the Lord Yahweh Shah, that this one of great, in all this great destruction, and the time of Jacob's trouble, leading up to the nuclear missiles. Zephaniah is filled with future prophecy, and we even read verse 18, Zephaniah chapter 1 verse 18. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord Yahweh Shah's wrath. So money isn't going to mean anything. All hell, this whole economics is just going to collapse, but also the Lord Yahweh Shah does not care about your money. The Lord's going to destroy this whole system by mainly America, Babylon, and Great by fire. And so all this this money, it doesn't mean nothing to the Lord. Now you need a job, you got to provide for yourself, but the Lord Yahweh Shah comes first and foremost. The Lord's grace, there's going to say in predestination that will say the elect, and they will be in His word and be in Yahweh Shah, Bashim Kokodash, in His holy Bible. Reading on, we'll read this again, Zephaniah chapter 1 verse 18. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shah's wrath. So these bag chasers, it's not gonna look too good for you because you didn't serve the Lord. But the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of his jealousy, nuclear fire to destroy America, Babylon the Great, in the midst of World War III. For he shall make even a speedy riddance of all of them that dwell in the land. And so if not one is future prophecy. So the destruction of the fall of Wall Street and the destruction of Babylon the Great, America by nuclear fire. So this whole money is just gonna go down. So those that trust in money, destruction is coming to you. I also want to read verse 13. Zephaniah chapter 1 verse 13. Therefore their goods shall become a booty, meaning a spoil, and their houses a desolation, meaning dead bodies, nobody in these houses, dead bodies laying in these houses, so their goods shall become a booty, a spoil. People are going to be robbing each other, going to run around, finding whatever's good, robbing each other. It's going to be violent times in the time of Jacob's trouble when all hell breaks loose. The time of trouble, so there's not been, like never seen before, pursuing to Matthew 24 and 21 and Daniel 12 and 1. Jeremiah 30, it said, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. So there's going to be time like no other time of trouble. But this is the time of Jacob's trouble. He shall be saved out of it. The elect of Jacob will be delivered. They'll be fed in these times, preserved and delivered at the end of the day when the Lord Yahushua comes back. And delivered from that nuclear destruction as well. Let's read this again, Zephaniah chapter 1, verse 13. Therefore their goods shall become a booty, a spoil, and their houses a desolation. So people are going to be robbing each other, taking everything, and it can be destroying each other, deleting each other, with weapons, whatever means whatever means it is. These houses are not gonna have nobody in them. They're gonna have sprawled out bodies in these houses, and so this is the time that we're entering into. So, we know what's coming. For us, wisdom and knowledge shall be the spirit of the times. No one knows these things gonna happen. No one knows how it's gonna break loose, and knowing the scriptures say we're gonna be much better off. But we know all hell is gonna break loose, and this whole economic system also gonna collapse. Now, from there, let's go to 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter. 2nd Ezra 15, in verse 15. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. So that's race wars, it's civil war. We'll read it again. 2nd Ezra 15, verse 15. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. And we don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but we know it's talking about race wars and civil wars. Now, this economic tribulation could stir this up, or it could happen before, whatever happens, speaking as a man. But we know what's going to happen. We know this wars and violent times is upon us. That's what we're reading. Jacob's trouble. Verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. For they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So uprising against the government, not regarding authority, and martial laws eventually going to be established. These people are going to go crazy. No regard to any type of authority, and the police state isn't going to matter in these times. It's going to be all hell breaking loose. There ain't going to be no 911 to save you. Only the Lord Yahushua can save you. Verse 17. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. So 15-minute cities, where you are required to take a microchip. You can't go anywhere. You're stuck in a confined box to fulfill the elite's will. But it's really the will of the Lord Yahushua through prophecy. Because it's only going to last a short time. The nuclear missiles are going to devour this place soon. And while Esau, these elites is filling their belly, the Lord Yahushua shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, and rain upon him while he's eating, meaning shoot them nuclear missiles on this place, while he's fulfilling his desire to microchip the earth. And so it's only going to last a time. Revelation 12 and 12 says the devil Esau shall come down with great wrath, because he knoweth he has but a short time. So all this shit's only gonna last a short time, but it's gonna be all hell breaking loose like never seen before until that time is fulfilled. But I'll read this again, 2 Ezra chapter 15, verse 17. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, so there's no fleeing the destruction. And if you can find where you are, again, 15-minute cities, we can only have a small radius to go. People taking a mandatory microchip, the mark of the beast, Revelation 13, 16, and 17. Universal basic income, and this could be a result of this economic downturn in this system. They could implement this system, and then all this uprisings and then martial law and all hell breaking loose, persecution goes with that. So it's all laying out perfectly to the prophecy to the will of the Lord Yahweh Bashan Yoshai. Verse 18, for because of their pride the city shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbors, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, famine, and for great tribulation. And so these people are going to be fending for their lives. There's going to be famine. All hell is going to break loose, and these people are going to be trying to feed themselves, and they're going to take any violent means necessary to feed themselves. So people are going to be deleting each other, raping, robbing each other. We read in Zephaniah, their goods shall become a booty, meaning a spoil, and their houses a desolation. People are going to be robbing each other, deleting each other, taking whatever they can, because they don't got nothing, because all hell is breaking loose. So this is what's coming, famine's coming to America in these violent times. Read it again, 2 Ezra chapter 15, verse 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with a sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. And so all hell is going to break loose, all the prices are going to be messed up. It's good to say the sown places shall appear unsown, and the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. So when this famine hits and this economic tribulation could cause famine, natural disasters could bring that famine. Esau could just cut shit off. The elites actually cut off. Trump could go AWOL, cut off food. In military could go AWOL and cut off food supply. Could all those things could happen at once. There's a multitude of things that could bring this famine. These trade wars, tariff wars. These other countries say Babylon and Great, and all the food that's imported here, they cut it off, or it becomes crazy expensive. There's a multitude of things, and all hell is gonna break loose. You can't pay for anything. You ain't got no benefits. You lose your job. It's gonna be all war and chaos in America and all over the earth. Right before the Lord Yahweh comes back, Matthew the 24th chapter also goes into that. The famines, wars, rumors of wars, earthquakes in diverse places, pestilences. And so we're prepared, spiritually prepared for these times. We know these are going to happen. The Lord Yahweh is going to come back. Let's get this one. Revelation chapter 6, verse 8. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth. The fourth part of the earth is America. And we know there's no such thing as literal hell in the scriptures. When you read the volume of the book, the whole scriptures from front to back, you find out that hell actually represents the grave and a condition played out on the earth. And these wacky-tacky Christians can't, their false doctrines are being confounded. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, America, this side of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. And so famine and all types of deletion and destruction, all types of death and destruction is coming. Mainly to America, but other parts of the earth as well. But it also said the fourth part of the earth, which is mainly dealing with America, Babylon, and Great, this side of the earth. Again, it said to kill with sword, and with hunger, this famine, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. So the time of Jacob's trouble, the second Ezra that we just read. Now I wanted to skip up to verse 6. This is Revelation chapter 6 and verse 6. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine, So a measure of wheat for a penny. A measure of wheat is enough to make a loaf of bread. You gotta look at it spiritually and to break it down and understand it. So a measure of wheat represents enough to make a loaf of bread, and a penny represents a day's wage. And so enough for a loaf of bread for a day's wage, that's hyperinflation and famine. And so a loaf of bread can cost $200, $300, $400, $500. A measure of wheat for a penny. A loaf of bread for a day's pay. So again, that's hyperinflation. Food prices skyrocketing like crazy, and famine. People lack of bread. We read about that. Spoiling their house with a sword for and spoiling each other's goods for lack of bread and great tribulation. Roughly paraphrase. So prices going way up. People not being able to feed themselves and their families. All hell is breaking loose. And then it said, "Hurt not the oil and the wine," representing the truth. But the main point, measure wheat for a penny. Going into the hyperinflation and famine that's coming. Now, the NLT actually breaks it down. So we'll get that. This is Revelation chapter 6, verse 6 in the NLT. "And I heard a voice from among the four living beings say, a loaf of wheat bread or 3 loaves of barley will cost a day's pay." So a loaf of wheat bread, a measure of wheat, will cost a day's pay, that penny. So that makes sense. The hyperinflation and famine, food prices skyrocketing, people not being able to eat. Another result, and the scriptures say it's better to die by the sword than by famine, because those that die by famine, they pine away, stricken for want of the fruits of the field. Let's grab that real quick. And we're in the NLT. Let's actually see what it says. So this is what's coming. "And the elect are going to eat in these times." This is Lamentations chapter 4, verse 9. "Those killed with the sword are better off than those who die of hunger. Starving, they waste away for lack of food from the fields." So a lot of these people are going to be dying of famine. In America, Babylon the Great even. "But the elect are going to be fed. My servants," Isaiah 65:13 said, "My servants shall eat, my servants shall drink." So the elect are going to be taken care of in these times. We're prophesying against it, the 2/3, all these wicked jakes, and all these heathen, including Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, and mainly prophesying against America, Babylon the Great, this whole Edomite system. But all these heathen, all these wicked jakes. Here we go, getting the King James. This is Lamentations chapter 4, verse 9. "They that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger. For these pine away, stricken through, for want of the fruits of the field." So showing you how bad famine is. Pine away, stricken through, for want of the fruits of the field. Let's see, sometime this one hits, I think. The CEV. Lamentations chapter 4, verse 9. "Being killed with a sword is better than slowly starving to death." And that is simple to the point. Let's read it again. Lamentations 4:9, the CEV. "Being killed with a sword is better than slowly starving to death." So that's what these Americans are going to face, slowly starving to death. Time of Jacob's trouble, all hell is going to break loose. Another thing that's going to happen is job losses. We read it. That's one of the effects of that default. Which we can read this prophecy in Isaiah the 19th chapter, which refers to the modern day Egypt, which is America. It speaks about the Lord Yahushua coming back in the church, the so-called UFOs, and the fathership, his return. In the first verse, it speaks about the civil war. In the second verse, Egyptian against Egyptian, city against city, fighting city against city, neighbor against neighbor, kingdom against kingdom. Speaks about the preaching of his word, the altars in the midst of the land of Egypt. Speaks about us coming back to the Hebrew, in verse 18. This true language, the language of Canaan, the Hebrew, this pure language in Zephaniah 3:9. So Isaiah 19 is a heavy prophetic chapter. When we read this, is Isaiah chapter 19, verse 15. Neither shall there be any work for Egypt. So the modern day Egypt is America. Revelation 11:8, the spiritual Sodom of Egypt. So there's gonna be no work for Egypt, no work for America. So a time of job cuts, job losses. People are gonna not have nothing, no work, nothing to fend for themselves. They're gonna bring forward the UBI, Universal Basic Income. They're gonna give you a certain sum of money if you take a microchip attached to the mark of the beast, which that mark of the beast is the RFID microchip in the hour of temptation. Revelation 3:10. Those that take that and fall for it, are going to be destroyed in a nuclear destruction, which is going to happen soon. And when the Lord Yahweh comes back, shooting the laser beams from the chariots, and come back in the fathership and the chariots, so-called UFOs, those that take that chip are going to be destroyed. And we're also going to get annoyed some grievous sore, cancerous-like thing, like the boils of ancient Egypt. So the same thing's playing out with modern-day Egypt as ancient Egypt. 2 Numbers 15 speaks about the modern-day Egypt, America, the plagues coming upon it as before. And then the whole land being destroyed, showing he was in modern-day Egypt, and the Lord Yahweh shall deliver his elect with a mighty hand and stretched arm, being beamed up into that fathership. So read it again, Isaiah chapter 19, verse 15. Neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or tail, branch or rush may do, so no work for America. They're going to have the AI taking over, which they already are laying out these plans. And so the debt, America's laden with thick clay and heavy debts, stock market, Wall Street failure, whole economic downturn, no work, violent times, the famines, uprising against the government, all hell breaking loose, martial law, massive microchip implant, 15-minute cities. This is all biblical prophecy that we've been reading. People are going to get violent when these things happen. All hell's going to break loose, but the elect are going to be protected and given divine intervention and spiritual power in these times. Just like the old prophets of old were always taken care of. Elijah was fed by ravens. Habakkuk ended up bringing Daniel food while he was in the lion's den. An angel took Habakkuk to bring Daniel food in the lion's den. You read about Bel and the dragon. The prophets always been taking care of the elect men of the Lord, Yahweh Bashmi Shah, Bashmi Kodash. Now we may be persecuted. We will be persecuted. Not maybe. Some of us may be, but we will be persecuted and deleted, put to death. But those that are will just be that will be your ticket to the kingdom. And so right after that you'll be in the kingdom with immortality. So there's nothing to fret about, to worry about. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 12 verse 3. And the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease, because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. So it says, and the grinders cease, because they are few, going into these workers. And so there's going to be a few work. Just going with that Isaiah 19, that no work for Egypt. So all this work is gonna stop. And so people aren't gonna be able to provide for themselves. The whole economic collapse, all hell breaking loose. So don't trust in this system. Spiritually flee from the midst of Babylon, as it says in Jeremiah 51:6. This place is gonna be destroyed. And repent and return to the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shah. I want to get this one. Real quick, protocols out here. But again, the elect are going to be fed in these times. and taken care of this Isaiah chapter, because they repented and returned to Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai, and the Lord chose them to be delivered and to be protected and to be the elect. This is Isaiah chapter 31 and verse 1. Woe to them that go down to Egypt for help. Again, America is a modern day Egypt. So the system can be destroyed. So woe to them that go down to Egypt for help, which Egypt is Esau, the so-called white man, our enemy. The scriptures say never trust our enemy. But yet our people do, even though he put us in slavery and we're clearly suffering the short end of the stick in all aspects of food, work, money, benefits, taxes, everything you can name. Jacob is being oppressed, and they still trust in Esau and go to Egypt for help. So again, Isaiah chapter 31, but this whole system is going to collapse, which is what we're prophesying. So Isaiah chapter 31 and verse 1, we're seeing it. Woe to them that go down to Egypt for help, and stay on horses, and trust in chariots, because they are many. So there's and in horsemen, because they are very strong. But they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither see the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai. So this military too, this military is going to crumble. All these military are going to be destroyed. So those that trust in this military are going to be destroyed as well. And they're going to find out that the Lord Yahweh Shai had the strong military with the holy angels, the Lord Yahweh Shai, the archangel Michael, and the chariots. And the Lord's going to destroy Babylon the Great, this modern day Egypt, like we read in Isaiah 19 as well, in this whole system. So destruction to you, Jakes, that trust in Egypt. And this the virgin daughter of Babylon as well. It's going to say, sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no longer become tender and delicate, in Isaiah 47. So the same America, the virgin daughter of Babylon, the modern day Egypt, you're going to sit in the dust, meaning confusion. And so this system is going to be destroyed. And those that trust in this system, those that think it'll last forever, they're going to find out. We're already seeing the destruction of this place. Now, I'm pretty much going to close up there. But I'm going to play a few minutes of this video. And then I'm going to close out. But that's all that's all the scriptures I was going to grab. But I'm going to play, and I'm going to say fair use, fair use, fair use, so don't get copyrighted. But I'm going to play a few minutes of this video, not the whole thing. It's 14 minutes and 4 seconds long. 4 seconds long. Call even like Yahweh Bashim Shah Bashim Kokodash 144. But it's titled "It's Over for the Stock Market. Trump's Planned Crash Explained." Just watch some of this. Again, fair use, fair use, fair use.
Disaster. Social media is in a frenzy, and everyone is asking the same question. Should I sell now before it gets worse? But there's more to this than meets the eye. If you followed me for a while, you know I'm a serious investor who's obsessed with the stock market. And since so many of you have started investing because of my videos, I feel a responsibility to give you my honest take on the situation. So before you panic, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture together. Every market crash has a cause, and this one isn't random. There are three main triggers behind it, and all of them tie back to one man, Donald Trump. Now, before anyone jumps to conclusions, this isn't about politics. I'm not here to take sides, and as a British investor looking in, my only concern is how this impacts investors like you and me. So let's break down the three biggest triggers behind this crash, why they matter, and what you can do to benefit from all this mayhem. Trigger one is Trump's trade war. Trump has always pitched himself as the ultimate.
Which, if you're watching the news and things, which we should all be watching the news and thinking it's a prophecy, you see that the tariff wars, that on the tariffs, in China, one of the main places, but Trump is going AWOL with that. And what he's gonna say is that the same type of thing happened before the Great Depression, which was a time of hell on this place as well. But now we're in a time of all these prophecies being fulfilled. World War III, the third world is going to say there'll be three woes. We're in the time of Third World War. In the Middle East, the MOTB, the RFID microchip, Russia, Gog and Magog being turned back with hooks in his jaws. And so we're at a time now when all hell is going to completely break loose and the Lord Yahushua is going to come back. But the same thing that happened with the Great Depression, there was trade wars that happened before. So the same thing that happened then is playing out now. So we're going to see the same effects. It could be from the exact same thing.
Deal maker. He's the guy who fights for
Shalom.
American jobs and plays hardball with other countries. But the trade wars he's fighting could increase your weekly shopping bill and cause a recession. The last time the US tried this, it helped trigger the Great Depression, wiping out jobs and wrecking the economy. Now, history might be repeating itself. Stocks are already crashing, prices are rising, and if this spirals, it won't just hurt Wall Street, it'll hit you where it matters most. Your bank account. Let me take you back to 1930 when I was just a boy. The US government decided to slap massive taxes called tariffs on imported goods to protect American businesses from foreign competition. It was called the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, and it turned out to be one of the worst economic mistakes in history. At first, it seemed like it would help. American companies wouldn't have to compete with cheap imports and more products would be made in the USA. But there was a big problem. Other countries fought back. Nations that used to trade with the US started raising their own tariffs, making it harder for American businesses to sell products overseas. Trade slowed to an absolute crawl. Businesses collapsed and millions lost their jobs. Instead of fixing the economy, it helped turn a regular recession into the Great Depression. One of the worst.
And this could be exactly what brings that the new Great Depression, if you will. You always see talks about recession, but now it could be the new Great Depression. Could kick off all these prophecies we've been reading at Zephaniah that will Howie and Tablets and Magtech, the merchant people cut down, the murder, all they that bear silver cut off, and all this, the hyperinflation, the famine, the all hell breaking loose, Jacob's trouble.
Financial crises ever. Fast forward nearly a century, and Trump has brought back tariffs in a big way. In February 2025, Trump announced a 10% tariff on Canadian energy imports and a 25% tariff on other Canadian goods. In retaliation, Canada imposed a 25% tariff on American imports.
The same thing that brought forward the Great Depression. It was happening now.
In March, Ontario implemented a 25% surcharge on electricity exports to the US.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this car. Okay, you ready? All right, $118 for car insurance. That's how much I was paying.
To the US, affecting states like New York, Michigan, and Minnesota. However, in my opinion, this was more of a symbolic move that wouldn't have seriously damaged the US economy. However, Trump didn't hold back, and instead of just brushing it off, he fired back by increasing tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminium to 50%. Unlike Canada's move, this wasn't just for show. It hit Canada's manufacturing industry hard while also driving up steel prices for American businesses that rely on imports. But why am I telling you all this? Well, this is where the real problem starts. Tariffs sound good on paper, as they're meant to punish foreign businesses while encouraging more stuff to be made in America. But in reality, they end up hurting regular people more than anyone else. As a business owner who manufactures products and imports from China myself, I know that when businesses are forced to pay more for materials, they don't just absorb the cost, they pass it on to their customers. That means higher prices on cars, appliances, and electronics. In addition to this,
food is going to affect the people.
Becomes more expensive because supply chains get disrupted, meaning that everyday essentials cost more, stretching household budgets.
Run that back.
Means higher prices on cars, appliances, and electronics. In addition to this, food becomes more expensive because supply chains get disrupted, meaning that everyday essentials cost more, stretching household budgets even further. On top of that, other countries aren't just sitting around while Trump raises tariffs. They're forming new alliances to trade without the US. China is leading the charge with the BRICS alliance, partnering with Brazil, Russia, India, and South Africa to reduce dependence on American trade. So the more the US isolates itself, the more other countries look elsewhere for business. So what's my opinion on all of this as an experienced investor? Well, if Trump goes all in on this trade war, history suggests it'll do more harm than good. While some industries might get a short...
And that's the main point I wanted to touch on. So showing you that what happened in history, and it looks like history repeating itself, and all hell's gonna break loose. So I believe that Trump is a puppet for these elites to bring forward this MOTB system, and really a puppet for the Lord Yahweh Shah to bring forward a prophecy and martial law and all that. But we're gonna see exactly what happens. So keep watching and keep praying. And I hope that was edifying. And with that, we have all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Kokodash, Yahweh is the true name of the Heavenly Father in the ancient Hebrew. Yahweh Shai is the true name of his only begotten Son. The one said I was in the Apostle Milson were well, and Shalom to elect.